All right, let's dive in. Today we're going to be dissecting one of horror literature's most influential and, let's be honest, deeply unsettling creations, the Deep Ones. We're going to look at their biology, their culture, and their really sinister relationship with humanity, pulling everything straight from the source material.
And what better place to start than with the words of their creator, H.P. Lovecraft himself. This one line, blasphemous fish frogs, it just perfectly captures that mix of the familiar and the utterly alien that makes these things so creepy and so memorable.
So, where did these blasphemous fish frogs even come from? Well, to really get a handle on the Deep Ones, we have to go right back to their literary roots, back to the foundational texts of the Cthulhu mythos.
Now, while they might have been hinted at in earlier stories, the Deep Ones really got their full debut in that 1931 novella, The Shadow over Innsmouth. And it's important to remember, these are not your typical sea monsters. Oh no. They represent this terrifying crossroads of alien biology, ancient religion, and the absolute corruption of a human town.
Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty of their anatomy. What did Lovecraft actually describe on the page? What do these creatures look like? And what is it about their appearance that's so fundamentally disturbing to us?
Just listen to that description. You can really see how he deliberately fuses different animal traits. Lovecraft was a master at this. He combines fish-like features with frog-like qualities and then maps it all onto a vaguely human-shaped body. And the result? It's something profoundly unsettling, because it's just familiar enough to be absolutely repellent.
And if we break down his description even further, you see a creature that's just meticulously designed for life on land and in the crushing pressures of the deep ocean. They're amphibious, they're agile, and, maybe the most terrifying part, they're biologically immortal. Unless they're killed in some violent way, they just don't die.
But the real horror of the Deep Ones isn't just about how they look. Not at all. The most famous story about them isn't a simple monster fight. It's about this sinister, multi-generational bargain they strike with humanity. This timeline really lays out the slow, century-long decay of the town of Innsmouth. It all started as a simple trade agreement, fish and gold. But it spiraled so quickly into a full-blown religious cult takeover enforced by sheer violence, and it all ended in this secret war with the U.S. government. So this is the really crucial part, how the esoteric order of Dagon actually managed to trap its members. It wasn't an instant thing. No, it was this gradual, creeping commitment. It started with secrecy, then it moved to loyalty, and finally it culminated in that third, horrifying oath, an oath of genetic assimilation. You had to merge your family line with the Deep Ones themselves.
And that final oath, well, it gave rise to this thing known in the story as the Innsmouth Look. And we're not just talking about a slight family resemblance here. This was the physical proof of a hybrid's non-human bloodline slowly but surely taking over their entire body.
This transformation is just pure body horror. It's this gradual, unstoppable process where your human ancestry is literally being erased. As the years go by, the hybrid is slowly changed, prepared for that final instinctual pull back to the sea, where they'll go to live forever with their immortal family.
And that transformation, it leads to a whole new life. Because you have to remember, the Deep Ones weren't just scattered monsters roaming the ocean floor. They were members of a vast, ancient, and highly organized civilization, hidden way down there beneath the waves.
Their main city, Yanflay, is described as this massive, ancient metropolis. And that casual mention of a resident being 80,000 years old, that's classic Lovecraft. It just instantly creates a timeline that makes all of human history look like a blink of an eye. It makes our own civilization seem so temporary and so insignificant.
Their religion just reinforces this whole sense of ancient power and hierarchy. You've got Father Dagon and Mother Hydra at the top. But they're not really gods in the way we think of them. They're more like immensely old and powerful Deep Ones who act as king and queen. And they, in turn, serve an even greater, more terrifying cosmic being, the primordial god, Great Cthulhu.
So this whole structure shows us we're dealing with a really complex culture here. They've got a theocratic monarchy, they have intricate religious rituals, advanced craftsmanship, and this incredible architecture that can somehow withstand the crushing pressure of the deep ocean.
Now, after Lovecraft died, his creations didn't just fade away. Other writers, especially his friend August Derleth, picked up the torch and kept expanding the Cthulhu mythos. And in doing so,
They definitely evolved the deep ones.
This comparison is so key to understanding their legacy. Derleth basically reframed Lovecraft's morally ambiguous, indifferent universe into a much more standard struggle between good and evil. He made the Deep Ones vulnerable to magical things, and he basically cast them as clear-cut minions of evil. It's a huge departure from Lovecraft's original vision of them as this ancient species with their own alien, totally unknowable motives.
And that brings us to a final thought. The legacy of the Deep Ones. It goes way beyond just horror fiction. Their story taps into these really deep-seated fears we have about heredity, about the secrets that might be lurking in our own bloodlines, and that terror of losing our identity to something older and much, much more powerful than we are. It's a potent metaphor for anxieties that are just as relevant today as they were way back in 1931.